Hey guys, it's been more than 3 years. I'm 29 years old now. Life just became heavier than any survival game I have ever played. This is my story of what happened after the last video and why I disappeared for so long. At the end of 2021, I left my home due to a series of disturbing experiences. I moved to another place and stayed there for over half a year. During that time, I managed 3 different stores for an entrepreneur, but the business wasn't profitable, and we parted ways. The orders suddenly have stopped, believe it or not. With nothing left to lose, I was encouraged to ask around restaurants if they would be interested in a product the owner's wife had seen in Dubai. This was a fly repellent. Instead of visiting only one city, I traveled around the whole country. Along the way I printed flyers, I met some memorable people, including a man that invited me previously, and showed the recordings from Jerusalem.
Wnętrze grobu Bożego nie nakręciliśmy, dlatego że stał się jakiś, nie jest to zrozumiałe, co się stało, po prostu kamera się zacięła.
Wychodzimy z grobu,
Bez przerwy, nazwiska,
do
daty
polu w kościele i lampka się sama zapaliła. Widziałeś co ci a nie paliło wszystko. Nie, wszystko zgasi, ale będzie działać. Dlatego nie mam
To nie jest tak jeden dzień do
tego
zapamiętania.
ujęcia, jak się tam modlimy.
I don't know how that happened to this day, God's will. After 2 weeks of traveling, I returned to the seaside completely broke, with only a one-way ticket home. I had given away nearly 300 flyers and sold nothing. Unexpectedly, my former manager contacted me and asked me to record the video presentation for his new company.
Cześć Mariusz, Wojtek z tej strony. Chciałem zapytać, czy jutro mam do Ciebie przyjeżdżać tam, czy... Aha, no dobra.
Zmotywuje mi następną rzecz.
Jasne, jasne.
I spent 3 weeks recording and editing the video. I met some kind and respectful people there, but once again after I finished it, I was left without a job.
Teraz jest idealnie.
In November, I attended a conference held by my previous employer. During the first break, I went outside to take a walk. This was in Warsaw. Just as I was about to cross the street, a random guy came over from the same conference and asked me how am I doing. We had a small talk. While going back, when I was about to enter the building, I saw this. I laughed and told him about it, but he didn't take me seriously. During a second break, everyone left and it was only me and the guy organizing the event. He closed the door, grabbed a cookie and listened to me without saying a word as I spoke about faith, the Bible, church and the people I had met. When I finished, he said calmly, "Wojtek, now that you understand how this works, you can run your own e-commerce store." After everything I had been through, I knew I couldn't do it. I told him honestly that it wasn't for me anymore. I wanted to focus on video editing instead. I stayed at the conference to network. In the end, I kept contact with only one person, a guy who worked in apartment renovations. Soon after, we started a YouTube channel together and posted several short videos. They gained over 500,000 views. People argued in the comments, which brought a lot of attention. I wanted to continue, but he couldn't. He had a situation with his previous partner. Once again, I was left with nothing.
Now, if you have a problem with your kidney, you won't be able to absorb calcium that well.
By early 2023, things at home settled slightly, but the memories didn't. At least the power wasn't suddenly going off. I began attending Mass weekly and praying the Rosary, something I still do to this day. A man I spoke to explained that what I experienced was meant to show me that the reality we live in is deeper than what we see.
Jak ja bym mógł coś podpowiedzieć, że te wszystkie doświadczenia, jakie tam miałem, różne, Ukraińko z piecem, z babcią i tak dalej, nie?
No,
Wiadomo, wszystko nie jestem w stanie pamiętać, ale...
trochę pan pamięta. No.
Ale wiadomo, nie? To wszystko, co się działo, doskonale, zdajmy sobie sprawę, to demon, tak? To było po to, żeby bać, zorientować, że rzeczywistość istnieje, tak?
A tak z zewnątrz źle nie jest, całe szczęście, dzięki Bogu, tak, ale...
Dzięki, to właśnie dobra odpowiedź, dzięki Bogu,
Właśnie,
nie?
dzięki Bogu.
Natomiast tutaj się nic nie skończyło, nie? To trzeba mieć tego świadomość. Demon ma czas i demon powolutku działa.
My parents pressured me to find a quote-unquote normal job. They worked hard their whole lives, and unemployment was unacceptable to them. I continued with the videos. Soon after, my previous manager referred me to someone else. I decided to give it a shot. The owners were polite and welcoming. They showed me everything. We even hired a drone pilot. I fixed part of the wall that was dirty, and the final video turned out pretty good. I've been told that the factory had a chance to produce springs for NASA satellites. One of the few who knew how to do it. Even though I still didn't have a stable source of income, that experience mattered, which I will tell later. My outlook on life changed completely. I began visiting family members more often. I visited my grandfather while he was still alive. Later he told me he had seen a certain man at our church.
Tego człowieka, to go widziałem właśnie, jak przemowę miał przed ołtarzem.
Ale widział go dziadek na 100%, on tam był, tak?
Koło mnie przychodził,
Przychodził. Takie czarne, ciemne włosy, taki facet.
tak,
Miał te niebieskie książeczki, tak?
ty niebieskie książki.
I to było parę lat temu, nie?
No,
The man I spoke to through the phone, someone I had seen as well. I later found out that man had visited our parish twice. Once years back when my grandfather saw him, and the second time 3 months after me going back to the church in December 2021.
365 parafii za nami, ale nie patrzmy wstecz. Do czerwca mamy parafie umówione.
We prayed the rosary together. This was the last photo I ever took of him.
Which is the only country that has Jesus as their king? Switzerland? Not Switzerland.
Saudi Arabia?
No.
Israel?
Not Israel.
The U.S.?
The U.S.? I wish. No.
As their king?
Yeah, in 2016.
Jesus is their king.
Is he your king?
No, I'm Muslim. The United States?
Not the U.S. Do you know any countries?
No.
You know no countries?
No.
France?
Portugal?
No. It does start with a P.
I genuinely have no idea.
If you had a guess.
Well, there's Italy.
Italy's a good guess, but no.
Russia's not in Poland.
Yes, it's Poland!
On the same weekend in southern Poland, I met 2 men completely by chance. One was a fisherman from Zielona Góra, over 500 kilometers away. The other one lived in Międzygórze and invited me into his home. I mentioned him earlier. One day I tried to call the fisherman. His daughter answered and told me her father had passed away. I immediately thought I had to take a train to visit the other man in Międzygórze. He wasn't feeling well, but more about it later.
Dzień dobry, panie Wojtku. Co tam słychać? Wojtek. No.
Co słychać? Leżę. Rano zjadłem owsiankę z konfiturami i teraz przed chwilą zupę z torebki rosół sobie zrobiłem.
While being at home, my own health wasn't at the best as well. My hair started falling out, probably from years of stress. I tried eating clean, but I realized health goes deeper than food. Many members of my family struggled with alcohol abuse. I don't drink, but I'm very nervous. One day after leaving church, I ran into my uncle for the first time in years. He drove me home. Later we visited another uncle who had been placed in home care after his mother was killed in a car accident. He couldn't cope and started drinking. We brought him food, I gave him a rosary. He still randomly remembers certain verses from the Bible, which was very impressive. He used to read a lot and was pretty smart. That's what my mother told me.
Pismo Święte.
Ja zacznę czytać.
Ale trudne jest. Paweł Kaśki to czytał Stary Testament. No. Tam jest całkiem inaczej.
To jest Nowy Testament, tak? Pismo to jest Nowy,
Pismo
tak?
Święte.
A Stary to jest ten...
Jakieś dziwne, no.
Dobra, nie ma.
Ale chociaż tam ci przeczytałeś to, co Wojtek ci dał?
No nie widzę do różnicy.
Ja nie wiem,
to były duże litery.
Duże były specjalnie.
Masz, nie wyrzuciłeś. Nie wyrzucaj tego, bo...
No nie wyrzucaj.
No każdego czeka ta starość. No i co? Aby się nie wychuśnąć po ciebie, bo to już do Królestwa Niebieskiego nie wejdziesz. A tam nie ma po życie przyjaciół, tam nie ma bólu, nie ma nic. Mam Fatimę, książeczkę, mam książeczkę od Jehowych, bo dawali kiedyś w Warszawie te książeczki. Wziąłem, chciałem ją spalić, nie? Ja mówię, brońcie Boże, nie pal, bo tam są mądre rzeczy. Nie powinno się tego czytać. Ale Jehowi inaczej interpretują niż katolicy.
Ja przeczytałem Pismo Święte, to coś było. Na początku było Słowo, a Słowo było u Boga i Bogiem było Słowo, a bez Niego nic się nie stało, co się stało.
No i o czym? No i o czym będziesz mówił? Po co będzie czytał różaniec, jak on Tomek wszystko wie od początku?
By what I can only describe as God's grace, I found online work through Facebook. A guy who was doing marketing videos for personal trainers. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. On the 25th of March, I went to the Częstochowa Cathedral with my cousin, a day after I met my business partner at that time in Krakow. During the same time, I also went hiking with a man I had met a year before. Someone who had been sleeping in the forests and traveling through the Czech Republic.
Będzie coś wyżej? Tak? Kolano nie doskwiera? Chyba.
The hike exhausted me. The guy hasn't responded since then, whether to my emails or call. I think he might have been disappointed in my abilities. I still couldn't afford my place to stay, but had high hopes regarding the job. In May, I finally visited Wojtek, this time with my cousin, and prayed the rosary in his house. He looked at me and asked how that was supposed to help. I told him I was just doing my part. A month later, I call him and he tells me that the same night I left, an ambulance arrived and took him to the hospital. He invited me for a pizza. I've said I will visit him soon as I need to have this recorded. In the summer of 2023, I flew to London.
Right there. Look at this. Wow, we're on the top. Thank you.
At the train station, I met a Polish couple who showed me around the city. A few days later, a stranger gave me a ride from a gas station. He had a rosary on his dashboard and an image of the Virgin Mary on his phone. I recorded everything, but my laptop disappeared after crossing the border. Don't ask me how. Since 2021, I had been seeing repeating numbers everywhere, on license plates mainly. I would think there's something wrong with me until this point. After a year of calling the guy, he found some time to speak. This is a story for a separate video, but after coming back from London, being in Poland already, I stood in the parking lot waiting for him and saw this.
Ja nie mogę. Dworzec kolejowy, Zielona Góra.
I just laughed again, we met up, and he told me straight up about the spiritual warfare, and what I saw didn't even surprise him that much.
Tak brzmi ale opowiem kiedyś.
Okay.
Mam nadzieję, tak? Znajdzie się czas
Jasne.
kiedyś.
No mam nadzieję też, no zobaczymy. Ja nie wiem, czy ja będę żył jutro, wiesz jak to jest.
No nie, no tak nie myślmy. Tak nie myślmy.
Tu nie ode mnie zależy, nie? Nie od nas to zależy. Będziesz szedł matką świętą, będziesz szedł różańcem, to będzie coś na prowadzenie. Tak będzie. No i pamiętaj też zawsze, jak cokolwiek się dzieje, jak ktoś ci staje na drodze, to niekoniecznie ten ktoś jest postawiony przez Boga na twojej drodze, nie? Bo diabeł ci też będzie stawiał ludzi na twojej drodze, żeby cię zwiedli. No tak, tu się toczy walka, tak?
I bought the books and visited Wojtek again, the man who had been hospitalized. Gregory, whom many of you know from DayZ, was with me. Wojtek had lived in Tel Aviv. He was a musician, builder and camera operator, everything at once. He was also editing videos, but 30 years ago. Wojtek had told me his side of the story and how he's feeling better now.
Panie Wojtku, mamy różaniec, przywiozłem ja mi go. A po co? No ja panu go dam, no mam go przy szufladzie. Ja przecież nie umiem się modlić z różańca.
No dobra, no jasne.
W ogóle nie umiem się modlić. Wyciągasz ten różaniec, ja się za pana pomodlę o zdrowie.
To tak było, no tak było.
Później on tam skończył, ja mówię co, i to ma pomóc.
No tak było, tak było.
No, wiesz, olałem tą sprawę, myślę, no nie, no, jakieś tam paciorki mi pomogą. Po twoim wyjściu za 7 godzin już leżałem w szpitalu. Woda mi tutaj już płuca zalewała, bo ja mam kładę. Znowu buch, otworzyłem te 2 połówki, kaktus spadł na dół.
Ale tego samego dnia przerwę, normalnie jeszcze gadaliśmy. Jeszcze przyszliśmy, normalnie rozmawialiśmy. Tak, a później złapało od razu, nie?
Tak.
No.
Porobili.
Dzięki Bogu, naprawdę.
I co myślę, może to Wojtek wymodlił? Czy to przypadek? Czy to co to? No i teraz jestem w kropce.
No kurczę jak z filmu, dla mnie to jest zawsze szok.
Soon after going to the mountains with Gregory, I went back to my family. I didn't do anything particularly exciting that year. Our country is deeply rooted in Catholic traditions. We live close to a museum connected to World War II. It is said that the Virgin Mary once deflected Russian bullets there, what people call the miracle of the Vistula. To keep my mind occupied, I would walk around that area from time to time. Around that time I had a few calls with Wojtek. He told me there was no one left to take care of him, so he decided to move into a nursing home.
Także cię przepraszam, jak tam coś powiedziałem za ostro.
Nie, naprawdę nie ostro i mnie tylko zależy, żeby z tą książeczką czy coś, nie wiem, poczytał. Ma pan tą książeczkę chociaż czy coś?
Oj, nie, w domu zostało, bo nie było czasu, bo to w nocy mnie pogotowie zabrało raz całkiem. Jest najważniejsza rzecz, co się wtedy myśli.
No jasne,
Szczoteczka do zębów, pasta, mydło i zasuwamy, nie ma czasu. Ale
nic się nie
będę
stało.
jeszcze w chacie. Syn przyjedzie, to tam się przejedziemy, wiesz, to tam początek zacząłem, nawet dobrze się czyta, powiem ci.
No to fajnie.
W każdym razie jesteśmy kumplami,
No
zawsze
jesteśmy.
będziemy.
Będzie. No long after that he passed away there. When I heard the news I was in shock. I contacted someone from the area and they told me there had recently been a funeral. I never learned the exact cause of death, something related to his liver. I told my mother all these stories. She was the only one who truly took me seriously. The rest listened but assumed it was all coincidence. At the beginning of 2024, I decided to read the Bible with my grandmother. She had been through a lot in her life. I'm convinced her prayers played a role in bringing me back to the church, along with everything I experienced personally.
I o prawdziwa Matko, przestaw mnie Twojemu najdroższemu synowi.
It was my first time truly reading the Bible. People always said it was hard to understand. Surprisingly, I found it straightforward. That was what shocked me the most. Over several months, we read the entire New Testament and 7 books from the Old Testament. I also bought 5 or 6 spiritual books recommended by the guy I had met, and we read those too. I would visit her at night or early in the morning, even when I was tired. We had good moments together as long as she wasn't talking about feeling unwell. When she mentioned her health problems, I struggled mentally. My own health wasn't great either, and taking care of someone on top of that was exhausting. Still, she handled herself remarkably well and I didn't do much. I often felt alone. I didn't know what to do with my life. I had no one to talk to except my parents. Sometimes I would go for walks just to clear my head. I visited the cemetery nearby and prayed for my family at least to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. One day I went to a swamp where we used to play as kids. We used to jump over fences here and walk to our cousin's house, treating it like an adventure. Life felt much simpler back then. Looking back, it's strange how quickly time passes by and the perspective changes. Confirmation letter from the UK arrived regarding my company registration. That's one of the reasons I visited London. I bought a used laptop and went back to running ads for personal trainers. The work became repetitive, but at least it was something. Every March I now travel to Częstochowa, home to the largest sanctuary in the country. Before going there, I decided to visit Wojtek's grave in Międzygórze. I asked one of the apartment owners where he was buried, and we went there together. When I lit a candle at his grave, I noticed something that stopped me cold. We had the same date of birth. He had told me he was born in October, but I didn't expect this.
Znaczy, on miał zawał i po tym zawale jeszcze żył parę lat.
Ja się jeszcze pomodlę, bo po to przyszedłem. No jak chcecie, to możecie jechać. Nie?
Same name, same birthday, similar interest. Only a different year separated us. I sat down with the apartment owner afterward, and we reminisced about him. He told me Wojtek was known throughout the town. A unique person, a positive influence, someone unforgettable. I had recorded one of his stories. I would like you guys to listen.
Taki sen, tak. Ja siedziałem na tapczanie, tak jak teraz siedzę, bo mnie ból obudził. Poczułem się, jakby w lewą stopę mi ktoś gwoździa wbijał. Jak zniknęli, to mnie jeszcze bolało dobre 40 minut. Ja miałem takie różne dziwne. Któregoś dnia przychodzę do Polki. Tam jest sporo Polaków. Taki przyszedłem, jakiś taki niejaki. No i cześć, no ja leżę na tapczanie i płaczę. Dlaczego ty płaczesz? Popatrz na moją nogę. Lampy biorę na świetlarnię, jakieś zastrzyki, nic nie pomaga. Chciałem dobrze, a wyszło jak zwykle.
Ale czasem, no mój pan, no.
Uniosłem tą nogę i jej ucałowałem. Boże, jak ona się zerwała. Wzięła tam jakąś ścierkę. Ty kurwa, twoja mać, twoja chora, a ty się ze mnie naśmiewa. Co ty jesteś, Chrystus? I to ścierą mnie leje. Ja bym dać spokój, co ty kurwa? Tak? Ty jaja co ze mnie robisz? Nic, jeszcze ją pierdolę.
Nie mogę, nie? No.
Dopiero później oni się zjawili. No ja i nogę naprawię. Ja na drugi dzień, ona tam coś w kuchni szykuje, jakieś śniadanie, z samego rana to było. A Jana, miałem taki pół sen, pół jawa, powiedzieli, że twoja noga będzie naprawiona, żeby się nie martwiła. To znowu za ścierkę i za mną. Znowu się naśmiewasz. Powiem Piotrkowi, czyli mężowi, że on ci już nauczy Moresu. Ja mówię, no nie. Któregoś dnia idzie z bazaru, kuleje ta noga już taka, naprawdę jak kaszanka wyglądała, do kolana, od kostki. Bo gdzieś na przejściu kiedyś jakiś na skuterze przejechał i po stopie nie zdążył wyhamować. No i od tego się zaczęło. Nic nie pomagało. I szła z bazaru z tymi światami, tam jakieś owoce niosła. A tam cholernie wysokie są krawężniki. Kiedyś wiozłem taką większą torbę z książkami, książki ciężkie. I chciałem wskoczyć na chodnik. Torba przeważyła, ja na plecy, na ulicy. Samochody trąbią, kurwa, pozbierałem się rozwany. Używa, a jajca. A nie rozumiesz. I ona chciała wejść na chodnik i na tym krawężniku ta stopa jej się wykręciła z tymi siatami na tą nogę. I tak krzyknęła na cały głos, to pod domem. Tak krzyknęła na cały głos po polsku. Kurwa, teraz to się dopiero dojebała. No, jakoś się wygramoliła. Zaraz na drugi dzień, z dnia na dzień noga była coraz lepsza. Coraz lepsza. Schodziła ta silnica, a później ja pojechałem na budowę 30 km od Tel Awiwu. Długo mnie nie było, czym się wstąpię tam, co się dzieje. A zawsze jak przyjeżdżałem, to jej, bo mieszkałem w gajach pomarańczowych. Plantacje tam były. A jestem zapomarańczowany do końca życia. Cholernie długo kwitną. Zawsze torbę pomarańcz, to zrywałem żera prosto do torby. A patrzę, jest można, fajnie, coś tu dla ciebie, I to tak zawsze będzie? Ja mówię, no co mam przyjść z rękami w kieszeni? No Piotr mówi, siadaj, ala podaj tam coś jakieś. Ala śmika tam, myk, przyniosła na tacy, wyrobione kanapki. Ja tak po jakimś czasie ocknąłem się, patrzę.
Chodzi.
Ala chodzi normalnie, śmiga, tak, ręka, wiesz. Ja mówię, Piotr. Przyszli i nogę uciekł. Patrz jak ono tam. Co się stało? Wyleczyli w końcu? Nie. Od tego upadku na chodniku, mówi, noga coraz lepsza się zaczęła robić. Sama się zagoiła. Później ona wychodzi gdzieś, świeci, tak patrzy na mnie, patrzy. Mówi, wiesz co? Ja się ciebie boję, ty nie jesteś zwyczajnym człowiekiem.
Słyszysz to? Słyszysz to? Słyszysz to? I patrz.
No, tak było.
The next morning I hiked up Śnieżnik Mountain to see the newly built tower. It takes about 2 hours to reach the top. I was exhausted but managed to make it. It was cold but the view was worth it. Later, while walking near the dam, I randomly ran into one of Wojtek's colleagues sitting on a bench eating an apple. The timing felt unreal. We spoke a little, he told me about the funeral. Afterward, on my way back, I met Gregory. We walked through old catacombs in Kłodzko and climbed nearby mountains. The wind was strong that day. He later dropped me off in Wrocław and the next day I took a train to Częstochowa. It was March 25th, the feast of the Annunciation. A homeless man approached me there. He said I was the first person he had spoken to that day. I bought him food and suggested he should consider going to the church. I attended the mass. This is how the interior looked like. Later I ate at a Vietnamese restaurant. I was pale and freezing, but at least the warm food helped me a little. I joined Imangazi's course, which turned out to be one of the better decisions I made that year. It connected me with new people. I started running every morning for 30 consecutive days, hoping it would improve my mood. It felt more exhausting than uplifting, but I still pushed through. One day I noticed a forest fire starting and called the firefighters. They arrived pretty quickly. I was considering moving out, so I sold my old PC. Couldn't afford anything still. My grandma asked me once to go to the uncle and water the flowers. I think this was for his date of birth, so I did. We are still reading the Bible and some other books. I didn't speak much about my father, but my relationship with him was kinda difficult at times. He asked me to help him with greenhouse, so I did what I could. Later on my uncle came in and he has done the rest. Through Discord I connected with 2 guys from Miami. Both have started agencies.
I feel like, what is the rain? I want to know what the rain what does it mean to you?
I helped one of them create a video campaign that generated over 400 leads for a client, but none of them converted into sales.
Void. Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, bro. I think you're gonna love this one. Watch. Tell me what you think about this.
The second guy initially offered video editing services. I sent him my portfolio and he was impressed.
That's the thing. Like I don't know if you saw the part that I was like, Wojtek, the reason I'm fucking up so much is because they're making me record. They're making me read word by word.
I still didn't know why he chose to work with me over others, but we decided to give it a shot. I didn't want to spend the summer at home, so I took a 2-week trip around Europe.
Dobra, różańce mam.
I visited 11 countries: Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Italy, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany and more. I had around 1,500 euros and some home edit work.
How many times did this experience stuff? Like, you look around a lot when you travel?
Yeah,
or...
and I also like to travel without big plans.
Mm-hmm.
Like to see...
Yeah, you told me, like, you book one day in advance?
Yeah, or no, the same day.
It's the same day, okay.
Depends.
So, some people
I think it depends on your personality, because if it makes you feel anxious about you don't know where you're gonna sleep today, then it's, of course it's better to make in advance. But for example, for me, it would make me more anxious. I have a nice conversation. I'm in Valencia and I was supposed to be in Alicante in Spain. Yeah. And then I feel good and I have a nice chat and I have good food and I have even a book to read, and then I don't feel like going. I was like, come on, I paid the hotel there, so I have to go. Yeah. So for me, that would be more.
If you are spontaneous, then this is...
I am, that's my middle name.
In Slovenia I visited the church at Lake Bled.
Alright, cool. So yeah, if you go to Vingar, it's about a 15-minute walk over here. You pay here, it's ticketed. It's about 45 minutes through the gorge.
I will tell you where I came from.
Sure, yeah.
I came from the train station, so it's quite far.
Jesenica?
Yeah, Jesenica.
Did you walk from there?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Wow, that is pretty epic. Good job, man. Good job.
You're
ready to relax, yeah.
I'm a bit tired, but
totally.
It's not a big thing.
That's pretty long.
In Venice, a random woman asked me about my trip and told me when it's worth visiting the place. In Padua, I met a student from Poland and talked about life there. I took train along the coast to Cannes, where I met a German guy. In Dijon, I was impressed by the architecture. During my trip to Paris, an Algerian girl started teaching me French. I told her a little bit about my story. In Brussels, a Polish man who spoke 7 languages gave me a tour around the city. I bought 30 rosaries. During the trip, many of which I gave away to these people and others.
You are local? You're not a local.
Have some rosaries. Yeah.
You're Catholic?
I thought I would give it to people. Like.
Thank you so
and you seem like a nice person. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
When I returned home, I felt strangely depressed. Traveling showed me there was more out there, but I was still stuck. Life at home became unbearable at times. Even though my father is a good man, he still struggles with alcohol abuse. I believe it stemmed from trauma after my uncle's tragic death 30 years ago. And I don't blame him anymore, but let's call it straight, it's a sickness. Seeing him in different states was mentally draining. I realized what was the issue years later. If not for it, I would probably ignore it.
A ty żeś położył te cytryny, żeby ta mysza tam leżała, tak?
Schowałem wyżej, żeby nie...
Ona wlezie! Co na razie po tym?
One day I wrote a letter to a girl I had briefly met at the bus station. and left it at the place where she had stayed. She later responded threatening to call the police if I contacted her family again. I hadn't realized the owner of the place was her grandmother. I was shocked she took it that way and didn't reply. Strange things kept happening, but maybe that's just a coincidence. After kayaking that day, I checked my phone and saw the distance. It was exactly 666 kilometers. I just stared at it, wondering if it was real. 2 days before All Saints' Day, a paint of Jesus fell off the wall in my grandmother's bedroom.
Co ty robisz? Spadło coś? Wiedzieć, czy spasz?
Tam, za fotelem. No za tym fotelem jeszcze fotel.
Tutaj?
No tam, tutaj tam spadło.
Gdzie ty wisiał krzyż?
Było oparte na tym, na tej półce. Ten Pan Jezus był oparty.
To jest jakieś lustro. A, tu jest Matka Boża. Nie, Pan Jezus.
Nie, to jest Matka.
Nie, Pan Jezus.
Pan Jezus?
Ja nie mogę. Gdzie to było? Tutaj?
Tam było oparte na tej półce. Tu za twoją głową. Wysoko.
Tutaj.
Weź to nie wiem, czy to da radę wepchnąć. Ale nic się nie ruszało.
Weź to popraw. Bo jak to wsadzić?
Ja nie wiem.
Jeszcze zwariuję czasami. Jakim cudem to spadło? Przecież tutaj nie ma żadnego
No
trzęsienia
nic,
ziemi.
ja leżałam i nikt nie ruszał, niczym nie zrobił. Może taka gumka jakby była, tak tu gumkę założył.
Eventually, after my second trip to Międzygórze, Gregory suggested I should look for a shared apartment in Wrocław. I found one quickly and decided to move at the end of the year. We finished reading the Bible, I visited the cemetery one last time and lit candles for my family. When I told my grandmother I was leaving the next day, she cried. I packed my clothes and left on Christmas Day. I chose Wrocław because I love the architecture. It's not as big as Warsaw, it's close to the mountains and at least I knew one person there. I visited the Christmas market, met Gregory, we played arcade games, and later on I watched fireworks on New Year's Eve. For the first time in a while, I felt excited about the year ahead. I'll keep it honest, 2025 was mostly about work. Out of all the cities I've seen in Poland, Wrocław remains my favorite. It's not too big, it's close to the mountains and it has a unique atmosphere. I live on the outskirts, about 15 minutes from the main market square. There isn't much to see outside my window, but I've grown used to it. My weekly routine was simple: sitting at my desk, buying groceries, cooking most of my meals and attending mass once a week. During winter, the main square hosts one of the largest Christmas markets in the country. I avoid sugar and fast food, but occasionally I would buy something there, even though the prices are pretty high. I've been struggling with health issues for many years and I can see how much they are connected to posture, breathing and stress levels. I spoke with a woman who follows what she calls a biblical diet. She helped me a lot, but I still have trouble putting on weight. I bought many supplements, though most of them didn't do much. If I eat something wrong, I get dizzy or extremely tired and can't focus on work. That forces me to stay disciplined.
Wojtek, I'm sure you told me, you texted me the other day, you heard my calls, right? Like, I was literally holding myself. I'm not even kidding you when I was on the call myself so that I don't fucking just go off of him, so...
This doesn't seem like you're doing great, man. You're doing great. I would do much worse.
I continued editing ads for personal trainers, but I became more involved with the team in Miami. We worked on website videos, social media content, and client campaigns.
I had to start young, and now we're actually growing really, really fast. I mean, all the hard work is finally starting to pay off. We're nowhere where we want to be yet, but I know Veer is also very engaged in a very a similar mindset with this.
In February, I planned to attend a dietary meeting with the woman I had consulted earlier. Before that, I called a man from Zielona Góra whom I had mentioned before. I decided to give away some of his spiritual books. It felt like the right thing to do. I bought them, he delivered this together with rosaries quite quickly to my address. I packed them into my backpack and traveled to Gdańsk. Even though I was giving the books away for free, some people were not so keen on taking them. I had to bring half of them back home. It is what it is. I still enjoyed the stay. I walked by the sea and had a quick call with Eddie.
Even though we don't, I'm transparent with you about it all the time because I hope that the transparency that I am giving you and the information and just me being honest with you is able to buy enough time for me to be able to actually pay you what you're worth and take you on full time.
The following month was quiet. I stayed in my apartment, worked and started thinking seriously about launching a YouTube channel. Gregory and I visited a gallery to look at the cameras. For the first time in years, I played a video game for more than a few minutes. I don't watch many shows anymore, but just for the story, I watched all of the seasons of Better Call Saul. I can recommend it. I'm usually more addicted to podcasts than Netflix, which I finally had to stop because these were very time-consuming.
Got you something else. So I know you grew up Catholic. I don't know where you stand today, but that is from one of my friends, a really good friend of mine over at SEAL Team 6. Was at SEAL Team 6, and he has since retired, and he calls those the Warrior's Rosary.
I love this.
You want to hear some crazy shit? Yeah. I guess it's probably not. You're not going to think it's crazy with everything you've seen.
Yeah.
This year we've had 44.4 million watch time hours on Spotify.
Just a coincidence.
Is that crazy?
Literally what David is saying, that's what you want. You want my broken heart. One of my favorite Psalms ever, and it's like, it's my go-to. Psalm 51, write it down, never forget it. Every time that shame and guilt, every time you need a cleansing.
And so I've told this before. My mom probably took me to 3 movies in my life. The only one that I really remember, Passion of the Christ. And I remember whenever we went there, it was a bunch of other fucking moms, Catholic moms with their kids. And the theater was so packed, we had to sit up in the front and go like this.
As every year, I traveled to Częstochowa and visited Jasna Góra Sanctuary, and I brought the remaining books to give to family members. I made an appointment with a Croatian priest there to ask about my calling. I had some doubts for a moment if I do everything right. Interestingly, as I approached the building, another priest happened to enter at the same time and let me in. I explained my situation at home and some of the things that happened. He gave me advice, but nothing definitive. Before entering the sanctuary, I submitted prayers, intentions for my family. While being at home, I visited the cemetery again. I visited my family again for Easter. My grandmother proudly showed me her flowers.
Ładny. A teraz będą twoje imieniny 23 Wojcieka.
Ty to pamiętasz o wszystkim.
Ale ucieka. Ale dużo tych Wojtków. Ja w telewizji słucham, to dużo tych Wojtków jest.
My father was doing chores in the garden. I enjoyed my stay. I speak openly about faith now. I visited my other uncle and his mother. Gave them a bracelet and a keychain from the sanctuary I've been to before. On my way back to Wrocław, I visited a parish where a man I had been messaging was giving his testimony.
Zaczęło się wydawać, że to są bajki dobre dla naiwnych, miękkich ludzi. Stwierdziłem, że nie potrzebuję, żeby sobie poukładać życie, słuchać co niedziela za młodym pouczeń.
I hoped he would help me understand what had happened in my family years ago, but he was busy and had to leave. Shortly after, before he did, he told me that God knows the timing of everything, and there was probably a reason we met there. As I walked away, I saw this again. Maybe I'm overthinking, maybe I'm not, but I decided I would document everything from now on. I'm just taking photos. I went to visit the priest who was a big help for me a couple of years back. He was the reason I started going to the church, and all of the events that followed was thanks to God, but also because of his encouragement. We had a little chat. This was my main means of transportation. In the spring, I went back to the place I've moved to. Many more calls with the team.
A tough week because I've been having to fill a little bit for Eddie.
The previous guy I've been with all of a sudden had a problem with my work. I've said I appreciate our partnership the last 2 years, but I'm done now. He already had someone else that could be of help. I don't know what was up with him, but everything bad always leads to better. Meanwhile, I bought a DJ4 cam for my travels. I bought a flight ticket to Spain to visit my current partner. In Valencia, I explored a canyon with a guide.
So is it expensive to live here? Like how compared to Valencia? Like what do you think?
Well, the prices for the apartment are cheaper, are lower. But it's expensive to live here because you have to travel to Valencia or anywhere.
We ended up alone for the whole trip and had some deep conversations about life. It was one of those unexpected connections.
Hola, Pedro.
Sí, dime.
Hola.
Dime.
Buenos días.
Dime que hay.
Later on, I went to a market and bought some food for myself. In Segovia, Eddie hosted me. We shared a steak, talked for hours, and visited the church together.
How you doing, man?
The wind was intense and it felt so cold. Didn't expect it, but enjoyed the stay anyway.
Like, I mean, it's huge, bro. Like, it's not like for this being the main cathedral and how it looks from the outside, it's actually not that big.
Wojtek, you have a very interesting life, man. You gotta start recording it more.
On my last day in Madrid, I cooked a soup for a Japanese guy. He even liked it. I attended a Spanish mass. I didn't understand the language, but it felt familiar to ours. During the summer, I invited my parents to visit me. They rarely travel, and I thought it would be good for them. We went to Prague and visited St. Vitus Cathedral. My mother brought food from home. My father complained about being tired, but I managed my patience. We watched Shrek together one evening, all 3 movies. One evening and the next morning, small moments matter. On the way back, we spent a day in the mountains. My father climbed the stairs carrying his old little bag, moving faster than I expected. Despite everything, I enjoyed these moments we spent together.
Super happy yesterday that the ads worked, bro. I was starting to fucking stress. Like last night, I kid you not, when I went to sleep, I called Eddie and I told him, bro, like this is not looking good. I told him he might have to send messages to both of the clients and letting them know that, this is the situation and stuff like that. Because, bro, this is the first time ads haven't worked like at all for us, and we spent like $300. I was telling Eddie it's a seasonal thing.
Work intensified toward the end of the year, Elato. Many of the costs with the team, we saved some of the businesses, which was awesome to see.
And scared because the price is a little hefty. You guys have overperformed, overexceeded. We couldn't be more happy. And I was wrong when I balked at the price. You guys are worth every penny. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm not bullshitting. You guys are paying me to say that. So if anybody's seen this in the future, you guys are...
In the autumn, I went into the mountains once again with Gregory, prayed the rosary for Wojtek. It was also my birthday. My parents visited me. And Eddie sent me a voice message, which was very nice of him.
Because I know you also don't like sharing and you don't like making things about yourself, but I dug and I dug and I went back on the video in which you made with the other guy's tombstone, and I saw that you were like, oh, he has the same birthday as me.
On All Saints' Day, I visited Warsaw, where my father had worked as a postman for 30 years. Poland has changed dramatically since the early 2000s. People say it's one of the fastest developing countries in Europe. I believe our faith and discipline plays a huge role in that. I ate at an Indian restaurant, about 50 zlotys for a meal, which is relatively affordable. My father and I watched a movie, one battle after another. I wasn't impressed at first, but the second half was better. We visited the graves the next day. That's our tradition. Instead of Halloween, we honor the dead. And again, I noticed the numbers while leaving. I attended mass at the cemetery. The organist's voice always moves me. He was singing the same hymns from when I first returned to church. Before leaving, I messaged Gregory and visited my grandmother again. She's 86 now. I went back to my apartment, lots of work still, that's all I was doing in my free time. In December, I visited both of my parents again. We went to see Nuremberg with my father. I also visited my cousin and gave him the rosary. Told him I pray it every day. I haven't showed him to him, but the moment before we arrived to the restaurant, again the numbers. Oh yeah, probably just a coincidence. We ate some beef together, I had a look at the Christmas market in Warsaw, and went back where I lived. My mom came by for a couple of days and we had some good time as well. Starting this year, I decided to learn French and went for a group therapy, which I can say was worth it, but more about this in another video.
Very good, you read it correctly. That was nice. Je vais prendre 2 baguettes et 4 pains au chocolat.
I'm still dealing with some gut problems. Might need to do a blood work soon. I stopped going to the gym after half a year, but joined this guy's group and started doing exercises. Maybe it will help. Regarding the work, we look for contractors all over the US. If you guys know anyone or in need, you can contact us on Instagram or send a message on my email. I can vouch for these guys, they are amazing at marketing. We'll make the videos and prepare everything, we just need more customers to grow at the moment.
Bro, start to finish, it's insane. There's not one thing in here that I'm like, yo, this is not a good ad. Like, this is the first time I'd say, like, out of everything, I think all 3 of them should convert equally. I didn't have anything else. I just wanted to call and let you know, bro. You cooked.
Recently, we started posting on social media. This might take us another few months or more before the content completely takes off. I launched my first paid digital product as well. A pack containing presets, add-ons, music and past projects from both my DayZ edits and my marketing work. If you guys want to support me and get a shortcut to start video editing, you can buy it. If there's enough interest, I might record a course later on as well for those who purchase it. I've been living month to month and I thought this would be a good opportunity for a breakthrough, but I don't expect anything. At the beginning of 2026, something happened at my aunt's house. I wasn't there, thank God, but after everything that's happened in the last 3 years, I don't think it was random. I plan to travel to Dubai soon, partly to clear my mind and visit my partners. I will explain to you and probably show what happened after I'm back at home in a month. I haven't been playing DayZ at all. It's not that I quit, I simply don't have the time. I hope to return by the end of the year, once I move again and life stabilizes. It always brought me a lot of joy, especially creating these cinematic stories meant something to me. For now, I started a new channel focused on real-life content, faith, travel and reflections. I'm grateful for every message I received over the years from you. If you care, you can follow the new journey and share your thoughts. Thank you for staying. Take care.